and welcome to my BookTube channel where we discuss, critique, and analyze books, share book recommendations, do book tags, and much more. My name is Ainsley, and in today's video, we are going to discuss how to write a mystery. This can also help you if you enjoy watching or reading mysteries and how to best critique them. Of course, some of these things that I will be discussing can be based most on my own personal thoughts and opinions, but there are certain rules that people tend to often discuss when it comes to writing mysteries, both in books, television, and film, or any other form of entertainment. Now, I also want to state that in today's video, I'm going to be talking a lot about films and TV, as well as books, and there may be some spoilers along the way. If I find there is a spoiler, I will be sure to give you a little warning before I do. So with that being said, let's find out how to write a mystery. Number one is to plan ahead. There are many different ways to write a mystery, and it's important to also ask some of these questions before going into it. Is the mystery the main focus of your book, film, or TV show? Let's say Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie writes books that are mainly mysteries, except when you consider her Mary Westcott books where she writes romance novels. But for the most part, the majority of her mystery books, the main focus is the mystery. Now, she does write some historical mysteries, and you'll find that there also has to be a focus on the history of it, as well as the archaeological ones in her archaeological series, or archaeological books. Now, when you have certain series, shows that have a main focus on teen drama, or you'll find supernatural series, supernatural books, fantasy books, where the main focus is going to be that genre or what happens within that genre, and the mystery tends to just be a through line or one part of what is going on. That's still important, though, to focus on certain aspects of what it is to write a mystery, and that is why we plan ahead. If you watch the television series, or have watched the television series Pretty Little Liars, you will find that the head writer on this and the writers within the room, but of course the head writer always has final say, is that they didn't plan ahead when it came to figuring out what's going to happen post season 2. If you watch the first and second season, of course there's many things to complain about here, but the mystery itself was actually well done. We were given a lot of information, viable suspects, and yet when the show was renewed for more seasons, the next big A, or the next A, if you will, which was big A, I think, right? Is that right? The mystery itself was quite convoluted, which then goes in to show some other ones that we will be discussing going forward. The mystery itself, along with even more so the final A in the series, everything was just, I guess it went on as they went along, which is another problem that the television show Riverdale has, and we'll talk a little bit more about that one as we move forward. Number 2 is to not get so convoluted. I had mentioned this in number 1, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it in detail here. Now, a convoluted story typically is when you are writing something where the focus is mainly a mystery and you're trying to trick your audience, which is another big no-no and something we will be talking into more detail as we go further into the video. Now, convoluted tends to mean that the story itself doesn't really stand out on its own, and there's a lot of things that happen that are maybe far too coincidental, and you are trying to set up a whole bunch of clues that really don't mean a whole lot, and it just becomes a big hodgepodge mess that the audience can't really play a part in the mystery. Important to remember that there will always be members of your audience that have something negative to say about your project. Sometimes that criticism is teachable, and other times it's just a criticism. People want to be shocked by the twist in a world where that has become harder and harder to do. The goal for a writer is to create a story in which the reader or viewer is surprised that they didn't figure it out. The clues were all there, and yet they were still stumped. From an audience member's point of view, I have seen many people complain about how they predicted what was going to happen or they figured it out. They say they knew it from the beginning. That isn't always a bad thing. The audience needs to realize that not being shocked by the twist ending is not always a bad thing. After all, the killer in a murder mystery has to be someone you've seen before, and when there are so few people, there are only so many guesses that you have. Instead of writing a convoluted mystery, try beginning with a simple story. The edits will help you take away what is unnecessary and put in what serves your story. We have so much content out there, thanks to various streaming services and so many different publications of books over the many years that books have been around. It's easy for people to think that the mystery they just viewed sucks because they were able to figure it out. But being able to guess who the killer might be, especially if you're playing along with the mystery, is not a bad thing. At all. Number 3. Now, I've mentioned this one before, but we're going to go into a slight little more detail in this discussion. Do not trick your audience. Not capital N-O-T. This is a very bad thing that some authors, as well as television writers, try to do. It's also something producers themselves have gotten on as well. Trying to trick your audience is not okay. The audience is in the place of the detective. That is the role that they themselves are supposed to be playing. And if you try to trick them, they can't play along. Ways of tricking is simply putting in things that make no absolute sense, and going further, we will discuss things such as twists that weren't earned and ones that just came out of someone's butt, apparently. Number 4, twists need to be earned. Twists can come at any point during the story, and then you typically have the big one at the end. This is somewhere where we reveal our killer or killers or why something was done and anything that happened along the reading or watching process. Now, when you have a twist, whether it be in the middle or the end, it's something, again, that has to be earned. Let's go back to that little Pretty Little Liars, shall we? Especially the end. If you've watched this series, you will know that Spencer apparently has a twin that ended up being the final A. And there was no crumbs as to the fact that she had a twin in the first place, or that she was connected to this, or that her twin was the one that did it. Of course, this isn't just the Pretty Little Liars. This is something that has existed in TV, especially over the many years that television has been around. Watch soap operas, big drama series, you'll find that there's one in there as well. So I just want to say that you can watch something that's not necessarily the greatest piece of cinema, and it has a better understanding of the structure of mysteries than something like Pretty Little Liars or Riverdale ever did. See, in the television show Riverdale, especially once you pass the first season, you don't really get to understand what is happening, and there's just twists and turns going all over the place. And when it came to the Black Hood that occurred within the second season of the television series, the whole ending of it was just came out of nowhere. And that's not something you want to do. As I had mentioned, Riverdale, though being not a masterpiece, the first season is quite better than all the seasons that came after it, including the Black Hood debacle. In the first season, the main mystery going through it is who killed Jason Blossom. Jason Blossom is the twin brother to Cheryl Blossom, and he apparently wanted to go missing before he was then murdered. We know who ended up killing him at the end, and we have seen him multiple times before that twist ending. There was also some moments that revealed other parts of the story before that big reveal. This is a lot better of a structure to a mystery than, say, anything that came after it. Setting in little clues and moments that helps the audience figure out what is going to happen is one of the best things that you can do for your audience and your mystery as a whole. It makes a lot better story and makes things a lot better to understand. Number 5, No overuse or misuse of red herrings. This is a problem in some mysteries, especially horror and thriller mysteries, particularly those in film. A red herring is a clue that is intended to mislead or distract, typically in a horror mystery. It would be the person who is acting more like the killer. I loved the new Scream movie, and I thought that it had a really good mystery and through line to it, and there was many well done aspects, but I did have some problems with their use of red herrings. The character of Liv had very little contribution to the story and only seemed to be relevant in order to add another suspect to the pool and act as a red herring. Same can be said of the character of Vince, played by Kyle Gallner, whose talents and underutilized, by the way. He is very great at what he does, and I really wish that his character had more to do and that he was in the story for a lot longer than he was, and that if Liv was there, she had a lot more weight to her character. She wasn't quite as complex as a lot of the other characters, and I just kind of knew that she wasn't going to be the killer because of that. A good use of the red herring is in the film The Sixth Sense, where our focus is on the boy who sees dead people. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler, so please, if you haven't seen that film, do so before you go any further. But in The Sixth Sense, at the end of the film, we found out that Bruce Willis's character has been dead this whole time. And of course, at the time, this was a major twist, and people, including myself as a young girl, was surprised at what you just saw. And it's crazy to think that we didn't see it. And see, that's what's great about a good mystery, is when you come to the end shocked about what you saw, what you found out, and then realize there were clues all along. Great clues, and everything told you what you were supposed to have already found out. That's a good twist. And number 5B, the ending should not come out of nowhere. This is a big problem that I have with a lot of television shows that like to call themselves mysteries, namely, as I mentioned before, Pretty Little Liars and Riverdale. Of course, they're not the only ones, but they are two very popular series that have the endings that come out of nowhere. It's important when writing a mystery to allow your story to have proper structure. When you have an ending where it comes out of nowhere, of course, your series didn't have proper structure. There weren't clues. There were definitely tricks in your audience, probably overuse or the wrong way of using a red herring. You didn't plan ahead, and when it came down to it, you just decided to pull something out of nowhere. That's unfair to your audience, it's annoying, and it just doesn't feel good, and it doesn't make a good mystery. Again, Pretty Little Liars, Riverdale, and shows like it just tend to not understand how writing a mystery works. It shouldn't be all about the teen or young adult drama. It shouldn't be a lot about shocking people and seeing how we can one-up ourselves on our ridiculousness. It's simply mediocre and, I hate to say it, but stupid. Number 1, plan ahead. Number 2, don't get too convoluted. Number 3, do not trick your audience. Number 4, twists need to be earned. Number 5, no overuse or misuse of red herrings. And number 5, the ending should not come out of nowhere. 5B ties to all of the above. You need clues and the ability to solve the crime. The twist needs to be earned, and it can't be something that just comes out of nowhere. Think every season after the first 2 seasons of Pretty Liars, every season after the first of Riverdale, and that very spectacularly pretending that it did not happen of the ending of the original Gossip Girl. Now, in my mind, it is canon that Gossip Girl was just the narrator of the series, and that Gossip Girl wasn't a mystery in the slightest sense. That ending doesn't make sense to anyone, including the person who played it. It seems that they got to this because people were finding out what was going on, which is not a problem that only Gossip Girls had. If your audience figures it out, that's bad luck, or good luck, it depends, it really does. I just think that writers need to understand that sometimes people are going to figure out the overall mystery and that that's okay in the end. I just don't pull something out of your ass in order to create an ending that just doesn't make any sense at all. The ending needs to make sense, which means that it has to come from somewhere and not just let's find a way to trick our audience because this is what we were so-called planning all along when you are not planning it at all. In conclusion, if you want to write a mystery, following the above rules can help you succeed. The above list can also help you better critique a mystery and explain better why everything post-season 2 of Pretty Little Liars is trash. Drop plot lines and plot twists that come out of nowhere does not make a good mystery. If you are interested in writing a good mystery, the best thing you can do is to read and watch them, annotate and take notes. Begin with short stories or screenplays. A mystery differs once you bring other genres into the mix. Is a detective a real detective or an amateur one? Your characters help shape the world and shape the mystery. Don't focus too hard on surprising people. Allow yourself to craft a good story with a satisfying conclusion. Thank you so much for watching this little video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like. It would really help me out. And if you have any of your own thoughts and opinions, please feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you. Subscribe and ring that bell to be notified every single time I post if you like me and want to see more from me. Check out my playlist on Agatha Christie if you want to see or hear more about mysteries, and I will be with you next week once again to discuss, I don't know, you'll just have to find out. Follow me on Ainsley Reads for updates, reviews, and anything else. I'll see you later.